superintendent. We are not here to make administrative or management decisions pertaining to the daily operations of the district. This is the responsibility of the superintendent. In compliance with the State Government Code on Open Meetings, tonight's agenda has been appropriately posted. This is a meeting in public, not a meeting of the public, and as our guests, you are welcome to observe and listen. These proceedings are being video and audio recorded and will become part of Judson's permanent legal record. In order that the tape adequately reflects these proceedings, please silence your mobile devices and refrain from talking while others are speaking. Since it is legally mandated that these proceedings are recorded accurately, I may have to ask for order periodically should I notice that disruptions are interfering with our recording capabilities. Once again, I extend to each of you a sincere welcome from the entire school board. Thank you for your interest in Judson ISD. We have established a quorum, and Ms. Canoyer is right on it, so will the rest of you please log in? We had noted that Mr. Diaz and Ms. Eaton are not here at the present. They may be coming in a little bit later, but we do have a quorum, and so we will begin. To my immediate left is our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Jeanette Ball.
Welcome. I'd like to welcome everybody.
At this time, we will start our meeting with a roll call, establishment of quorum, invocation, and pledges. Would you please stand for our pledges?
Guards, United States Guard Cadet Airman Basic, Amaya Davis, and Texas Guard Cadet Second Lieutenant Tisha Bailon. Our pledge leader this evening is Andre Williams. Andre Williams is a fifth grader at Ricardo Salinas Elementary. He is an excellent student and works diligently to be successful at everything he does. Andre loves to read and be a part of our school community. For example, this year he volunteers with Salinas Patrols and is a member of the Ranger Life podcast. Outside of school, Andre enjoys hanging out at the park with his friends and playing video games. We are proud to call Andre a Salinas Ranger. Thank you, Andre, for leading our pledges tonight.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Andre's grandparents are here, Mr. Thomas and Sheila Williams, And we would like to also recognize Mr. Silverman, the principal at Salinas, and recognize Andre for a picture.
Thank you all so much for letting us. Our pleasure. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you. I'm so happy to have you here. It's awesome. And right here.
And 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. Got it.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
So you're welcome, my friend. These are the important people that I work with. So these are like my bosses. So you could either shake their hand or fist bump them. Okay? I want them to get to know you because you're so wonderful, okay?
And Dr. Ball, one more picture with the ladies' performance team of Judson High School. And just a correction, the Texas Flag Cadet Airman Maria Bernhardt and also United States Guard Cadet Airman Amaya Davis. I misspoke earlier when I announced them. Please give our ladies' performance team a big round of applause. Thank you so much, ladies.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely.
And 3, 2, 1. Got it. Thank you.
You girls rock.
We do have one recognition this evening that acknowledges our community partnerships. The Judson Education Foundation dedicates their work to building partnerships so that together we can provide the many things to our students and staff. The Jeff is honored to have such outstanding partners, and while we appreciate all of our sponsors that contribute to our foundation, the Jeff Board, the Judson senior staff, and the Jeff Executive Director visited the top 10 donors from 2020 to give them a small token of appreciation. It is with partners like these that the foundation can continue their mission of providing student scholarships and innovative grants. Please enjoy this short video of our visits with the top 10 donors.
Wash Gallegos works quite a bit with the Education Foundation. We're very proud and honored to be able to work with the foundation to help the school district and help the teachers who help the kids, and that's really our motto. We help the people who help the kids.
Well, we've had the privilege of representing Judson for so many years, and we appreciate it. We know it's a privilege, and we are happy to support any project. If it's important to Judson, it's important to us, and we're pleased to be a partner with you guys on anything that's important to you.
And we've had past employees serve on the foundation, and I'm really honored to be able to serve on the foundation this past year. So we're just really excited to be able to be engaged in a way that's meaningful, not only for the school district, but for us as well.
I
Our partnership with First Mark Credit Union and Judson's Education Foundation is that we are both supporting the same initiatives. We're supporting the same communities, and we're supporting the same cause, right? There's a goal at the end, and the goal is to help empower our children, help empower those in the classroom, and help empower our community to stay focused and grow. As our first year to be one of the top donors for 2020, I mean, what else can we say except that we're excited? I think that we're headed in a direction now that we have our very own executive director of the First Mark Foundation sitting on your Judson Foundation. So it's going to be a perfect marriage, and I say that there's more to come, and the best is yet to come.
So we're very grateful for these partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tagenod. At this time, we will move on to item 4 and let the record show that Mr. Diaz has arrived with Catalina. Hi. And we are on item 4, consideration of consent. Oh, I'm sorry. We are on item 3, acknowledgement of visitors. The first person that we have here is Mark Zimblist. Item to be discussed is bond.
Good evening. My name is Mark Zimblist, and I've been a resident of the Judson School District since 1980. Just so you know, I was very active in the school district for many years, and there are some board members that might remember me, as well as several staff members. Some of you might be trying to forget me. My son graduated from Judson High School in 1996, and I remained active for many years after his graduation. I did this primarily for the welfare of the children and the district. I have never complained about school taxes, as I know what I pay in taxes did not cover what it costs to educate my son, and I don't mind paying the taxes to help in the cost to educate other students. At the time my son graduated, my taxes were under $1,000 a year, and I know from my involvement that the cost to educate one student at that time was more than $5,000 a year, all inclusive. That's electricity and everything else into consideration. I was here when a family with 5 children in the schools complained that their taxes were going up pennies a year. They were paying the same as I was in taxes. You do the math and realize the bargain they were getting. My taxes are more now, but I believe in public education and do not complain about those school taxes. Now at my age, my taxes are frozen, and I am still glad to pay my fair share. A little history about me before I get into my actual point. I was treasurer of the bond election that got Wagner High School built, co-treasurer of the bond that got the rebuild of the new Judson High School, also strongly actively supportive and involved in the creation of the JECA, Performing Arts Center, and even the rebuild of the Rutledge Stadium. I was also active with the Athletic Booster Club and was a pain in the neck in helping to promote the swim team. Yes, my son was a 4-year letterman on the swim team, and he was also a member of the National Honor Society. I was also on the Judson Foundation. My problem with the district started when previous superintendent made a liar out of me and others who were strong supporters of the district. We were telling people that the line item bond proposals were just that. If you voted for an item, the district could only use that amount allocated for that item on that item. For example, if the line item was $1 million for technology, then that was the limit for technology. And if it wasn't needed, the balance would not be cashed in on anything else. Well, the new superintendent at that time, who came in after the bond was passed, said we only needed $500,000 and the rest would be used on the athletic field. That's actually the press conference field. Those are not exact figures, but you do get the message. It is just an example of how we were lied to and thus made us liars to the public. By the way, the next bond had a line item for more technology improvements. Needless to say, I have not supported any of the follow-up bonds because the district truly lost my trust. How can you stop bullying in the schools if you have a bully at the top of the administration? Is that my time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Zimblist. Next, we have Marilyn McKinney, President of Judson Education Foundation. Items to be discussed, 4F and 5A.
Good evening. In your board packet this evening, you have a list of people who would like to tutor for you. What they want to charge you is absolutely obscene compared to what you are willing to pay your own employees. You will pay a teacher for an hour to tutor $35. That's it. We stay longer than that hour. We don't get paid for it, though. Sometimes you stay 10 minutes, sometimes you stay an hour waiting for children to be picked up. How many of these people are going to do that? None. You could significantly raise what you offer the teachers, your own employees, and still not meet more than half of what these people want. This is a slap in the face to your current employees, and this is why people leave. Now, on a more positive and friendly note, item 5A, your adjustment to your compensation plan. I want to thank you for recognizing the time and effort put forth by the people who have been required to do the Reading Academy. And I hope you will pass that portion, which gives them a stipend, those who have already taken it and those who are involved in it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKinney. Lastly, we have Lorena Rivas. Mask mandate.
So, due to the unlawful mask mandate, Judson ISD is currently on the list of districts being sued by the state of Texas. I admire SCU, COMEL, and Northeast ISD for remaining optional, allowing students, teachers, staff, and visitors a choice, and Northside ISD, who recently changed their stance, making it optional as well. I'd also like to note that these districts have fared no different in COVID cases throughout this time. In a recent email to me, Dr. Ball stated that masking is up to the parents, and went on to say that students will not be turned away or disciplined if they choose not to mask. Yet teachers and staff adhere to the official mandate currently imposed. To start, when students board a bus, they're told to put one on, which is questionable considering videos I've seen from Judson ISD buses packing students like sardines, sitting shoulder to shoulder, faces inches from one another. Buses are so crowded that students have had to sit on the floor of the bus, my son included, one time. Does anyone actually think the masks are effective at this point? Not to mention the intercom announcements reminding students they must not argue with the teachers or staff when told to put on a mask. Or when teachers say, and I indirectly quote, "If you get close to me, you need to put on a mask." The minute students walk into a classroom, masked or unmasked, they're encompassed in microbes from head to toe. I'm curious, are desks disinfected with each change of class periods? Clothes, as well as our hands, come in contact with a multitude of surfaces throughout the day, like bumblebees, for example, transferring pollen from flower to flower. Perhaps students and entire staff should be covered daily in PPE. What bothers me the most is hearing from various levels of administration that they're simply caught in the middle, well, of this politicized topic. If this was so, masks would be optional. No one has prohibited masks. Those who choose to mask are encouraged and even praised for it. By mandating masks, it's proven where you stand politically. You've chosen a side from the beginning, and it's unfair to those who rebuke sides, those who want to choose what they feel is right for their families and not be ostracized for it. Along with other issues such as woke reading programs slipping into the district, pushing books with inappropriate sexual content that are racially driven, causing divide as if we weren't divided enough already. It's no wonder many are opting to homeschool. Nevertheless, you'll continue to cash in on tax dollars so as long as we reside in Judson ISD. Lastly, I will be voting against the upcoming bonds. Not that it matters to the board, but it's my personal way of not supporting Judson ISD, who does not support the entirety of its constituents they're assigned to serve.
Thank you, Ms. Rivas. We will now move on to item 4, consideration of consent items. And if there are any items that the board would like to pull, just let me know. Item 4A, consider and take action regarding approving board minutes from the special meetings held on May 12th, June 3rd, and the regular meeting held May 20th, 2021. Item B, consider and take action regarding approving monthly financial information as of August the 31st, 2021. Item C, consider and take action regarding approving expenditure equal to or greater than $50,000. Item D, consider and take action regarding approving the submittal for request for proposal 21-09 for general instructional supplies. E, consider and take action regarding approving the ranking for request for proposal 2201 for HVAC filters. Item F, consider and take action regarding approving the submittal for request for proposal 2202 for high-impact tutoring. Item G, consider and take action regarding approving a proclamation declaring October 17th through the 23rd, 2021 as Friends of Libraries Week. Item H, consider and take action regarding approving a proclamation declaring October 2021 as JISD Dyslexia Awareness Month. I, consider and take action regarding approving the proclamation for Red Ribbon Week for Judson ISD, October the 21st to the 31st, 2021. J, consider and take action regarding approving TEA class size waiver. K, consider and take action regarding approving the NEISD Regional Day School Program for the Deaf Shared Services Agreement, Arrangement Agreement, Shared Services Arrangement Agreement. L, consider and take action regarding approving the Judson ISD virtual learning resolution required to be adopted if the district offers a local remote learning program in accordance with Education Code 29.9091. M, consider and take action regarding approving the contract for election services with Bexar County Elections Administrator. N, consider and take action regarding approving the second reading of Policy Update 117 affecting local policies. O, consider and take action regarding approving the certificates of substantial completion, supporting progress and completion of the 2016 and 2017 construction projects. P, consider and take action regarding approving the waiver of penalties and interest on property tax payments. Is there a motion for items A, B, C, D, G, H, I, K, L, M, O, and P? L, M, N, O, and P. Is there a motion?
I move we approve the items as listed by President Pichelle.
And is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Oh, I guess we will be using our, let's see. We'll be using our devices. Mr. Diaz, would you please go ahead and log in? Okay. What's happening? Okay. All right, now. That vote passes unanimously. Pardon me? Oh, okay. That vote passes unanimously. Let us move on to item 4E, consider and take action regarding approving the ranking for request for proposal 22-01 for HVAC filters. Mr. Macias, you pulled it?
Yes, thank you. I guess I was looking over this particular agenda item, Dr. Ball, and what caught my attention, again, it was a great process. I know we're following our procurement process, but the thing that kind of just grabbed my attention was some of the subjective assessments in terms of evaluating the different vendors. So I wanted to kind of just ask or have somebody report out on that subjectiveness. I know it's typical, but the reason why it's important is because the group that won this bid had 22 more points added based, in my opinion, as subjective, like they've done business with the district, they have a good reputation, things that aren't data. And so just trying to understand that a little bit better, just so that I feel like we've discussed it.
Yes, sir. So some of the things that we look at that I understand how it could certainly appear subjective, and I'll explain it a little bit, and if JJ wants to share some things, I'll certainly allow him to. But some of the things that we look at in regards to when a person does business with us, what was their quality of their work? Were there any concerns? Did they do that business in a timely manner with us? Did they follow through on us? Did they provide customer service? So things like that we look at. So I can definitely see how that, the way it's worded, might appear very subjective, but we do have some criteria within that we look at to see how was that business, I should say, done with us.
That does sound good. I will say, though, is it a process that we follow up on? Because, I think I may have mentioned in a casual conversation, nothing formal, that there's sometimes some complaints about material falling apart sooner than later, or things like that. So I would imagine that goes back to the quality of something. So when we're looking and evaluating it, how are we doing that? Is there someone coming around with a pen and pencil saying, okay, everything's great? I'm pretty sure that's not what they do, but I want to know what the protocol is that we do to confirm that quality.
Sure. So depending on the item that we're talking about, I'm going to assume that, let's say it's a construction item, then there is those checks and balances that the team does, whether if it's, depending on what it is, whether it's Mr. Yacklin and his team or Helen and her team, to see the quality of the product. Did it last? Did it break on us right away? If it did break, was the warranty honored? So those types of things, that is what the team is doing, and we will continue to do to make sure that what we're getting is our money's worth, I guess, in a way, and a product of value.
Okay. And again, I won't belabor the point. It's just one of these things that I'd like to see us quantify, if you will, in a very objective manner, so that we're never criticized for not having a data-driven assessment, which, Dr. Ball, I know you're all about data, and so am I. So I feel better. Thank you for letting me just sound off a little bit on it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being prepared to say some words.
And the other thing that my team and I take very seriously is we realize we're spending somebody else's money, which of course is the taxpayers. So we want to make sure that we're doing that in a very, I guess the word maybe is fiduciary way, to make sure that we're getting that. But JJ, I don't know if you want to share anything else, if you were wanting to say a few words.
Oh, no, it's all been said.
Okay. Thank you, JJ.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Macias, to say that you could evaluate every bid objectively, completely every time, quantify everything, I don't believe that that's possible. We do, however, have guidelines when it comes to evaluating, like for this service and everything, and how to deduct or add points. There are separate sheets involved that under each has an explanation as to how they are to look at things. There's a formula that we use to calculate the number of points for the pricing that they give us. So we attempt to make things as equitable as possible. Sometimes if we have a service or a product that we've never done, it might be a new service of some type, I don't know what, because hardly anything new is invented. It would be difficult to for us to go back to any experience maybe, and so we have to rely on references. We do call the references. We ask the vendors for a reference, and we do make those calls. In this case, we had direct knowledge and experience with the company that came in second place. They are our current provider. We are having difficulties with them. We're having difficulties with the quality of the filters. We're having difficulties with their service. They are saying that they are changing filters, and they're not. We go out and we check. In my office, they came in and they didn't have the correct size filter, and it comes in the cardboard framing. So they just took scissors and cut it and put it up there. That makes it pretty much ineffective. So we had direct experience, and in here, in our explanation to everyone on how to score this, we ask them to be as fair and equitable as possible. We have documentation with this company. We have brought them in and sat down, Mr. Yacklin in the maintenance department, and so we had plenty of documentation to say, yes, their services or their products are questionable. And we could fall back on that. We don't always have that. So we have to make as an educated and informed decision as possible.
Well, I appreciate that. And it does, again, it's on my list of things to have a more in-depth procurement discussion about what we can do for inclusion and diversity, but also to ensure we're bringing new partners in, things like that. But again, that's some other day, some other time, but certainly I appreciate your explanation.
Yes, and one more thing, if I may add, sir. We also have written procedures, and when you were previously on the board, I know you pushed for this, but we also have written procedures that we give to the evaluators to say, hey, this is how you go through this process. And so we make sure everybody follows that, and then we, at the end of the process, audit everything of what they do before we bring it before you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Did that meet your satisfaction? Okay. Then is there a motion for item 4E?
I move we approve the ranking as presented.
A second.
It has been moved and seconded, and I'd like to note that Ms. Eaton has arrived. Welcome. And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 4F, consider and take action regarding approving the submittal for request for proposal 22-02 for high-impact tutoring. Mr. Macias.
Yes, thank you. One of our speakers, Ms. McKinney, kind of addressed the point that I was going to pull this item for. I know it's not entirely related to it, but there is a correlation. So when we talk about impact tutoring and this particular vendor, I will defer to our compensation discussion on it a little more, but it was on my notes to pull, so that's why I pulled it. But
will you be able to vote?
I will.
Okay.
Madam President and Mr. Macias, may I please share also just a little bit of information for our public?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Wanted to share on this item some of the things that, or I should say some of the reasons about this also is Judson ISD was very fortunate to also receive a T-class grant for $400,000, and that comes from TEA. But also when you receive a grant from TEA, it does come with some stipulations. One of those stipulations being that we have to use their approved vendors, or I should say tutors or vendors, and one of those things is that this grant does not, these funds cannot be used for teachers to tutor. It has to be from one of their vendors. Doesn't mean that we can't do something for teachers also, but also just wanted to share that these funds are coming from this grant, and this grant does have some stipulations in regards to monies can't be used for our own personal teachers, and it has to be used for the ones that are on the approved TA list. So just wanted to share a little more.
Good point. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Anything else? Oh, okay. All right. Ms. Canoyer.
Dr. Ball, am I correct that these are the tutoring that we're looking at to reduce the number of how large the groups are during the school day when we're doing tutoring to help catch up on the deficit, the learning deficit, and that our teachers wouldn't be able to do this in any case because it would be during the school day?
Right. So what we're doing is different levels of it. So yes, this is one of the levels of support that we're trying to do for our teachers and for our students. Though I know that it might not appear that it is, but it is truly a level of support because we do believe our teachers do give so much of their time, do already do a lot. So we want to be able to support them also.
Is there any other discussion? Then is there a motion for this item?
Yeah, I move that we accept the RFP for the 22-02 high impact tutoring.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded, and at this time you can log in. Ms. King? And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We will move on to item 4J. Consider and take action regarding approving the TEA class size waiver. Mr. Macias.
Yes. Just a question. I know that there's it's a TEA request, and we're doing it to move students from campus to campus. But I've been able to tour a few campuses or several campuses, and so I just want to talk a little bit more strategically just about what the goal is in terms of student-teacher ratios in the classroom.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So the goal from kinder to fourth grade is 22-1. That is definitely our goal. We have a few instances that we don't have that right now, and it varies for various reasons. That's why we don't. One of them, I can tell you, a teacher went from one campus to another, and it was a promotion, and normally we let them go for a promotion to, for those things. Then there has been some circumstances of illnesses. Unfortunately, there has been 2 deaths. So when things like that happen, we might not necessarily be able to get a teacher right away. We still continue to hire. Right now, we're still hiring. We've had job fairs. We have substitute fairs. We're going to continue to do that. But because of some of the circumstances, we do not want to leave our students just without a teacher. So we've had to divide them up within the classrooms. And we have a few cases that I can tell you, like for a second grade, for example, a second grade classroom that currently does have 24 students. There's another example of another classroom that a third grade classrooms have 24 students. So the number is averaging of the ones that we do have to do this. It's not many. It's about 24, but our goal is the 22.
And if we approve this today, does this also give flexibility to adjust that? I know 22-1 is the goal, but legally, by approving this, are we able to go 24-1? Even though that's not the goal, I just want to know and understand that
right.
The action we're taking isn't going to have that potential outcome.
So we're approving what TEA has asked us to do to basically notify them and ask for this waiver anytime we can't do the 22-1.
So, okay. So the goal still is 22-1, period.
Yes.
And in the past, there were, I don't even know if we have this still, but a fraud and abuse hotline. Is that still existing?
A fraud and abuse hotline, I do believe we still have that on our website, and we get reports.
We used to, as a board, receive those reports as well. So this isn't the right agenda item, but I just wanted to bring that up. But
I'll make myself a note of it, though.
Yeah, just for have an idea, but the concept would be that sometimes some of the parents I talk to, they feel powerless when they realize that there are instances where the student-teacher ratio is higher than it should be. And so I want an outlet for them, because I could have them all talk to you, Dr. Ball, or something, but if there's a mechanism, and obviously maybe the fraud and abuse hotline is not the right venue to do, but some way for parents to alert the district, because if it's happening on the campus and it's not being addressed quickly enough, I think it hurts student achievement. So I just want to make sure we're really on it.
Right, just to seek clarification, are you saying that a mechanism for the parent to notify us if there's more than 22, just to make sure?
Well, only because I keep hearing that. It's something that I keep hearing from different parents across the district, that ratio is different and that there's more students in the classroom. And if that's true, it just needs to be validated. And so I tell the principal, but in this one instance, there's frustration with nothing's happening. So I don't want them to file a grievance for it. I mean, so I certainly want them to know that there is a way, and maybe they contact their board representative. I don't know, but that's sort of what I'm trying to get at.
Well, what we could do certainly is legally, once this passes tonight, then we have to notify the parent. So we'll make sure that we include the principal's email, my email, information as to if parents want, or HR's information. So when a parent wants to speak to them, somebody about this, that they have different venues that they could go to. Would that be helpful?
I think that's great. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the parents that have already experienced this?
So some of the classes are already.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So the parents that have already experienced this, where the class size has exceeded what we said it would be, what are they to do?
They could still contact us to talk about this.
But they have. Two of the particular ones I'm thinking about have already contacted district.
Right. So basically what I'm saying today is that we are going to have more than 22 to 1 in each classroom at some of the, in some of these circumstances.
Okay.
Ms. Pichelle, I think you had mentioned about redistricting discussion. So is this one of those things that we would ultimately look at for future plans to mitigate this issue?
At this time, I really can't determine if it's that type of an issue or what the entire state of Texas is experiencing with teacher shortages. My goal would be to meet the 22 to 1 or lower, but right now, some of the situations that we're having is a severe teacher shortage across the state of Texas.
Well, certainly that needs to be then evaluated. Okay, I'll wait for your assessment.
All right, do we have a motion for item 4J?
I move that we approve the waiver.
Okay.
For TEA waiver.
And I will second that. At this time, that motion passes unanimously. We need to go back now to item 4G, item 4H, and item 4I. Those are all proclamations that are going to be read aloud. Dr. Ball?
Yes, ma'am. The first one is going to be read by Lacey Gosh. She oversees the library, so she will be reading that one.
Good evening. National Friends of Libraries Week Proclamation, October 17th through the 23rd, 2021. Whereas Friends of the Judson ISD Libraries raise money that enables our libraries to move from good to great, providing additional resources to support special collections, additional programming, and special events throughout the year. Whereas the work of the Friends highlights on an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the center of learning and intellectual growth on our campus, connecting students with thoughts, ideas, and intellectual contributions of others from ages past and to the present. Whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of a well-funded library and work to articulate that importance to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services, including access to print and electronic materials, along with expert assistance and research and readers' advisory. Whereas the very gift of the Friends' time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the overall betterment of campus life. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees do hereby proclaim October 17th through the 23rd, 2021, as Friends of Libraries Week at all of the Judson ISD libraries throughout our district, and urges everyone on campus to join and support the Friends of the Library and thank them for all they do to enrich our library and therefore enhance academic achievement.
Thank you. Item 4H, consider and take action regarding approving the proclamation declaring October 2021 as JISD Dyslexia Awareness Month.
Another important component, just as libraries are, so are the services that we provide for our students in the area of dyslexia. Dr. Mary Duhar-Topping will be reading this, and like to thank first our librarians for all they do and also our dyslexic teachers for all they do to help our students. We would be at a loss without them.
Exactly.
Proclamation, October Dyslexia Awareness Month. Whereas Judson Independent School District's Board of Trustees joined the International Dyslexia Association in recognizing October as Dyslexia Awareness Month worldwide, and whereas Judson ISD is committed to equal educational opportunities by identifying obstacles to educational advancement and success and endeavoring to remove those obstacles, and whereas literacy is a critical skill needed for educational success, and research shows that students who read on grade level by third grade vastly outperform their peers who do not throughout their educational careers. And whereas research conducted by the National Institute of Health indicated that up to 1 in 5 individuals may struggle with dyslexia and related learning disabilities. And whereas dyslexia is a specific learning disability characterized by difficulties with accurate and/or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding abilities, with consequences that include problems in reading comprehension. And whereas Judson ISD encourages our families to join in supporting individuals and families affected by dyslexia and to recognize our Judson dyslexia therapists for their ongoing efforts to provide vital support to our students with dyslexia to attain proficient literacy skills and achieve lifelong success. Now, therefore, I, Renee Paschal, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as School Board President of the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim October as Dyslexia Awareness Month in the Judson Independent School District, and encourage all to spread awareness of dyslexia and the resources available to our Judson ISD students and families. In testimony thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to the affixed this great seal of Judson Independent School District on this date, October the 21st, 2021.
Thank you, Dr. Toppin. And lastly, we have the proclamation for Red Ribbon Week.
Another very important component to our success, making sure that we're helping our students build proper leadership skills, teaching them the wrong and the right. I think it's important and part of our duty, all falling under the counselor, which is such a critical component to our district. So another component that falls under Dr. Mary Duhar-Toppin, so I'd like to ask her to read this proclamation.
Whereas alcohol and drug abuse affect individuals, families, and communities across the nation, and whereas it's imperative that visible, unified efforts by community members be launched to prevent drug abuse, and whereas Red Ribbon Week offers citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles, and whereas Red Ribbon Week will be celebrated in communities across the nation on October the 23rd through the 31st, and whereas businesses, government, law enforcement, media, healthcare providers, religious institutions, schools, and other community-based organizations will demonstrate their commitment to healthy, drug-free lifestyles by wearing red ribbons and participating in drug prevention activities. And whereas the community of Judson Independent School District further commits its resources to ensure the success of Red Ribbon Week. Now therefore be it resolved, we of Judson Independent School District do hereby proclaim October the 23rd through 31st as Red Ribbon Week and encourage you to participate in drug prevention education activities not only during Red Ribbon Week, but also throughout the year, making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free lifestyle.
Thank you, Dr. Toppin. That's a tongue twister to say Red Ribbon Week that many times. You did great. Thank you so much. Now we will move on to item 5, discussion, consideration of action items. 5A, consider and take action, possible action, regarding the approval of an amendment to the compensation plan for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Dr. Ball.
Yes, ma'am. There's a few items that we need to seek improvement on. One of them, some of them being because of shortages that we're experiencing within the district. The other one is something that we continue to talk about on a regular basis, which is in regards to our substitutes. Our substitutes is something that we have looked at. We've done some comparison in regards to what other substitutes within the districts pay. We know that there is a severe shortage of substitutes, not only at Judson ISD, but also across the district. So these, after doing some more analysis and looking at things that our district needed, I did not feel that we could wait to address some of these issues. So we're addressing everything from substitutes to some stipends for our counselors, the need to have an athletic trainer at the middle schools, different items that are needs for our district and for our campus. So I would welcome any questions if anybody has any questions.
I don't have a question, Dr. Ball. I just would like to say that I am glad to see that what we may be doing is approving an increase for substitutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Be that they're so hard to find.
Yes, ma'am. It is they are definitely hard to find right now, not only just at Judson, but across the state. I continuously hear that from my colleagues about how difficult it is to find substitutes.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you. Is there anybody else? Yes, Mr. Macias.
Thank you, Dr. Ball, for also moving on this. I guess I would like to evaluate this adjustment specifically with substitute pay, because we know that the current market is mandating we do something to be competitive. Yes. But we don't know what that's going to look like 3, 4, 5 years from now. It could be a whole different environment. So I know we will look at budgets, but I just want a mental note to know that we would need to come back and evaluate that, especially if there's an influx of 1 million teachers. I'm putting an example out there. Then that kind of changes things. Now, it may not be the case, but I don't want us to just put this increase and then forget about it. You know, I want to continue to evaluate something so that we're competitive and that we're aligned with it. So I'm just putting it out there.
Yes, sir. And in January or around that time frame, please don't hold me to the January, because just in case it's sooner or later, we are engaging with TASB to conduct a comprehensive study in regards to our pay structure, what we pay employees, the category that they're on. I will make sure that they include substitutes also.
That's good. We always make adjustments every time. I think this will be the third one I've gone through, and so we do have pay adjustments to make, and that's always good. We want to be in that position. And also, as I mentioned earlier, with the item regarding the tutoring, I know we're not in a position to discuss this or have a number, if you will. But I do think, to Ms. McKinney's point, and she's not the only one, there's been several teachers that have expressed some concern about not being given the opportunity, but not being compensated. So the perception is the value of our teachers is not on par with the third party that we're bringing in. And even though we may be mandated in the case of the earlier agenda item, it still looks bad. So if we're going to have this as our current rate for tutoring, I think we need to do something for our teachers that are willing to do it, so that we show them that their value is just as important as this third party. And so if we need to use ESSER funds in the meantime, or whatever we need to do to make that work, I think it merits some exploration. So if you could come back with that, then I would appreciate some assessment, and then we can make a decision on that.
Yes, sir. I wrote that on my to-do list to look at that, do some comparisons, do some research on it, and then bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a lot of money to pay. So again, I'm also going to be about bottom line. Is the tutoring working? Is this third party? We're bringing them in, paying them a lot. What's the results looking like? So I'll be looking at that as we go forward as well.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Eaton.
Dr. Ball, just, I'm sorry.
No,
I just have a question. So, do we not have teachers, our own staff members that are familiar with the students and what their needs are? Are they not volunteering to be doing tutoring?
They're not.
Or we don't have enough?
They're not volunteering. We are paying them. So we do have several staff members at all of our campuses that the teachers are being paid to do the tutoring.
Okay, but they're not volunteering.
They're not volunteering, ma'am. We are paying them.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
I had just a quick clarifying question. On the
Yes,
first, I think it's 4 categories on here. There's like a senior locksmith, there's a few clerk positions and things. I'm assuming those are hourly, not daily rates. The column says daily rate, and so I'm just
You're
making
right,
sure.
ma'am.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Thank
Can I
you.
go back to add something in regards to Ms. Eaton's question? The other thing that I will ask staff to look at in regards to looking and seeing if we need to pay teachers, and also going to what you said, and Ms. McKinney, going and looking to see if we need to pay teachers for prep time, for the time that they're truly there. So we will do some evaluating of that. I don't want our teachers to feel like we are cheating them of any time or anything like that. So I'll ask the staff to look into that too, if that would be helpful.
Thank you. That wasn't the question I asked, but thank
But
you.
your question made me think it. Your question made me think it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I guess since we're talking compensation, it's the appropriate time to bring this up as well. But there's been all these rumors out there that we're looking at a stipend or retention bonus in terms of compensation later next year. And I say rumors because we've not officially talked about it. But I would ask, since you're doing your research on the tutor, compensation, that if we look at a retention bonus at some later time, what is something that our teachers would want in lieu of that? Because when we get to the point where we have money and we want to pay it out and increase and work on retaining teachers, sometimes we're not going to be able to keep up with the districts that have a stronger tax base and they can put more money. We're limited, and we got to respect that. So what would teachers need and want? So when you do your assessment, find out by doing your surveys, because I know you've done a lot of that, what it would take other than compensation that we can put our money and efforts to. And I'll give you an example. If it really took adding teacher aides to every classroom to alleviate the workload, if it meant, I don't know, whatever it would do, what could that look like? So it's not just automatically, here's a $1,500 retention bonus, we appreciate you, and all that kind of stuff. It may be something else we can do. So just look, maybe not, but this would be the right time to do that.
Dr. Ball, I would just like to ask.
Yes, ma'am.
Under pay grade 510.
Give me 1 second to scroll there
Okay.
real quick. Yes, ma'am.
On a 228 workday schedule, what is a chief officer of transformation?
Yes. So that would be a new position. A couple of things that we have gotten some recent grants in discussing how I feel the district needs to move quicker and faster in regards to doing more innovative things, offering our students more opportunities, whether it's magnet schools, specialty schools, really moving to do some more things outside the box. What I have done for 3 years is continue to add things to people's plates. We truly need one person that's solely responsible for this and making sure that we're offering even more opportunities to our students. This is something that we really need to run with a lot faster. because we want for Judson ISD to be the premier district, and in an effort to be the premier district, we need to offer more opportunities for our students. So this person would be solely in charge of bringing in different, more innovative things for our district.
We don't already have that person.
No, ma'am, we do not.
All right. Thank you, that's all.
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, yes, Ms. Canoyer. Okay, all right, we'll start with Ms. Canoyer and then Ms. Eaton.
You're not asking for approval for that position tonight, are you?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, excuse me?
Do we have a job description?
I don't think I brought it with me, but I could quickly get it if we needed that.
Maybe we can talk about it during closed session when we talk about personnel.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Thank
Ms.
you, because I would, thank you. I would love to have not only the job description, but what have we been doing up to this point as far as filling that position? Because we have people that are doing jobs currently that are not being given maybe proper credit for what they're doing, and now they're being pushed to the side. So I would just like to see that job description.
Yes, ma'am, I'll have it ready by closed session.
Thank you.
I just wonder, is that something we would talk about in closed session?
It is personnel.
But it's not a person, though. So if personnel typically has to be an employee or someone directly, this position, there's no one in that position. So I would just be cautious before we go into closed session discussing something that shouldn't be in closed session.
Okay.
So if I may suggest, this is your recommendation. We have the ability to pass this today, but then follow up with that description. So if we have concerns, we can always pull it if we don't think it merits or rises to the occasion.
I agree.
Yeah. So I think, we've been very supportive of you, Dr. Ball, so there's a level of trust there. So in interims, you don't have to go through that motion. Let's just move forward with it, reevaluate that singular position, and if it really doesn't rise up, we can remove it.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm understanding, I think I'm understanding that you are okay with approving it right now and holding me accountable.
I would be. I can't say who we all are, but I would be comfortable enough with that. But with the caveat, we will then reevaluate the job description that Ms. Rodriguez had asked for it. Then make a decision then if we need to make adjustments.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. We're going backward. We're doing it in reverse order, but you are going to bring us a job description, let us know everything about this person, the responsibilities of this position. Okay. So
More importantly, their pay.
And their pay.
Please.
Absolutely. The pay is there.
Yeah, I'm look, having a little trouble here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their pay is there.
Mm-hmm.
But what we'll do...
I gotta scream because I don't...
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear you.
No, look, I had to take my tablet to tech yesterday, having some issues, so please, it's okay. I have a few issues.
Is there a motion for item 5A?
I move that we approve the compensation plan as written here.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded at this time. You can proceed to vote. That motion passes unanimously. Excuse me, not unanimously. That motion passes 6-1.
And I just want to make sure you understand, I voted no because I don't understand what it is.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
That's not fair.
Okay. Point taken. 5B, consider and take possible action regarding the approval of board member appointment on the Judson ISD School Health Advisory Council, the SHAC. Dr. Ball.
Yes, ma'am. SHAC was one of the things that was highly discussed at this past legislative session. And one of the new requirements is for there to be a board member to serve on that committee. So I'm asking if there's any board member that would like to be part of that. So that's what I'm asking. Maybe there's somebody that might want to volunteer.
What are the requirements?
The requirements is they're going to meet 4 times a year, and they're going to be discussing things in the area of school health, anything from approving curriculum that has to do with school health. How do we improve the health of our students? Could be physical, mental, social, emotional health of our students. So it's serving on a committee with other teachers, with parents, to look and see how do we truly provide a healthy environment for our students.
Personally, I would like to volunteer for this. I spent 28 years in the United States Army as a preventive medicine technician, which is public health. Not only did I do that, but we dealt with the mental and physical being of our soldiers, their parents, and their children. So I would love to volunteer to do that if no one else wants to do it.
Sounds like you're wonderful.
It sounds like it's all yours,
It's
Ms.
all
Eaton. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is there a motion to accept?
I move that we appoint Deborah Eaton to the SHAC committee.
I second that. You may proceed to vote. That motion passes unanimously.
Madam President, if I may just let Ms. Eaton know that Ms. Ceci Davis will be emailing you with all the dates for the meetings. Most of the time they meet here in this room, usually at 5 o'clock, and she will send you those probably in an email sometime, if not tonight, tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll look forward tomorrow.
I appreciate you serving.
5C, consider and take possible action regarding the approval of resolution to purchase property for middle school number 6 project. Dr. Ball. Okay.
I'm a little bit slow on the computer today. I apologize. So there's a piece of land. So first of all, I want to be clear that there's no confusion to this. This is not the entire purchase of the piece of the land where middle school 6 could possibly be. First of all, I'd also like to make it clear that without the bond, there might not be a middle school number 6. But also, this is not the entire purchase. The district has already owned that land for a long time. This is just one little component that would make it easier and improve the exit and entrance for possible middle school number 6. I will take any questions if there's any, Madam President.
Are there any questions, comments? Mr. Macias.
Dr. Ball, did we talk to the HOA in the area?
Yes, sir. Dr. Fields, Mr. Atkins, Helen Smith, they've been talking to 3 current serving board members, which then they communicate with the entire HOA.
And I guess if approved today, obviously the next step is, as you mentioned, if there is I still feel good about it, but that still needs to happen. So are we able then to reverse this action? Are we going to just acquire it anyway?
My plan would be that we would still acquire it anyway and continue the work that would need to be done to move forward if it doesn't go successful this time.
And so the money that's being used to purchase it, is it bond or M&O?
I do believe it's bond, but give me 1 second and I could look that up. It is bond, sir.
So not the one that's going to pass, but
No,
a
sir.
previous
Our
bond.
our last current one.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to be clear to acquire it regardless, then it looks like.
Yes, I would consider it's a pretty small component of this. It's the corner lot and it's located by Wortham Oaks and Walden Walk. So it's a pretty small piece.
And I was interested to know, just for ballpark figures, it does say closing fees. That sounds like a small fee, so I'm assuming it'll be small, but what would closing be on something like that potentially?
I would have to ask Mr. Atkins if he even knows what those closing fees would be.
since we already have the survey and the deed is already prepared, mainly it's going to be the title policy and filing fees and stuff. It would probably range $2,000 to $3,000, and some of that would be split between seller and buyer.
Well, that's what I would assume, so I just needed to hear that. But if it came back 10 or 12,000, that's sizable. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve item C, the middle school project?
I move we approve the resolution to purchase property for middle school number 6.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and at this time, Board, you may proceed to vote. After I call. That motion passes unanimously. Item 5D, consider and take possible action regarding professional service contracts, construction contracts, and related contract amendments supporting the 2016 and 2017 bond design and construction requirements. Dr. Ball.
Yes, you will notice on there that what we are talking about right now are projects that were approved in the 2016-17 bond. So you'll see on there some of the items that we are talking about, everything from Park Village Elementary, Kitty Hawk, just giving the board some information on some of those projects that we have either completion or very close to completing those projects. So wanted to share with the board that we would be very close to completing these projects, and I'd ask for questions, or if any of Bill or Dr. Fields have any other things that they would like to add. But some of these are some amendments to things that have happened. I think we had already shared with the board at Wood Lake Elementary some of the issues that we had with the sewer line. Same situation going on at Crestview. So this would allow us to continue to move forward with our projects.
Is there a discussion or questions? Yes, sir.
So just for the sake of community knowledge, I know we've talked about it, but the question that comes up a lot is, why are we still working on bonds from 2016 and 2017 in 2021? So we have that rationale as we are, but just so the community can hear, again, what the situation is. I mean, it's a sound one, so would you mind just elaborating on why that is?
Absolutely. So a lot of times people think that we do have the 5 years, but 5 years from when you draw down the funds. So when you pass the bond, when the district passed this bond in 2016, all the funds were not drawn down at the same time, depending on when the project started. So some of those projects started maybe a year afterwards. So we're certainly still within our timeline, and those projects will be completed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion
Can I just ask,
Sure.
Dr. Fields, did you want to add something different?
Only that there were a considerable amount of projects in that 2016 bond. It was an infrastructure improvement bond that had almost 200 different projects in it, some ranging from the building of a new facility to renovations, major renovations of facilities, to, changing the tarp over a playground. So we started with the big projects first, and we're working our way through, but we got the big things done quickly, and then not quickly, but first. And then now we're working on some of the other things towards the end.
One thing that hasn't been mentioned, though, and just part of this conversation, is the litigation that we went into with, that kind of had some people pause. And we're just being real. When you sue, some people are going to think, hey, so there was a delay, I think, in that response of getting good pricing, because I remember they started to jack the prices up. Pardon my French. But bottom line is those were concerns we had to go through that I remember being another issue. Again, if I'm wrong, please correct me.
You are absolutely correct. I mean, that didn't help speed things up.
Yeah, and just again, since it's part of this discussion, the issue of litigation had everything to do with a bad building, bad construction. And at the time, you have people in the community who are entrusting our projects if they're falling apart, and in particular, the elementary school Converse having issues with flooding. And so I think it was important that we did this, but I think we've I think we've gotten past it already, so I think we can move forward. But this is really good just for community consumption. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there a motion for item 5D?
I move that we approve the professional service contracts, construction contracts, and related contract amendments supporting the 2016 and 2017 bond and design and construction requirements.
I'd like to second that. And at this time, Board, you may proceed to vote. Thank you. That motion passes unanimously. Item 5E, consider and take possible action regarding the approval of the Handle with Care MOU. Dr. Ball.
Yes, ma'am. As the board knows, our students' health and mental well-being is very important to us. This is an MOU that enables local police to notify the school districts when they encounter some type of traumatic scenes or items that happen at the family, and be able for us to work together with police to identify our students. So it's an MOU that allows us to be able to work with different entities to keep our students mentally and keep them safe at all times, even if something were to occur outside the normal school operating hours.
Is there any discussion?
I just have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Have we already piloted this already within our school?
Yes, ma'am. We've been doing this for at least a year or more.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Is there a motion for this item, please?
I move we approve the MOU with Handle with Care.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll clear this board so that you can proceed. Okay. Is that Brianna back there?
Yes, ma'am.
Brianna, you probably are going to need to mark Mr. Macias absent. Okay. And that motion passes 6-0. Item 5F we will take care of in closed session. Let's move on to item 6, discussion items, superintendent's report, academic programs, EEO report, and update on JISD bond. Dr. Ball?
Yes, while Devin Holmes does prepare for the presentation, I wanted to share with the board that for now, until we finish our work with Leadership ISD, I have developed a schedule to keep our board better informed of some of the things that we are doing within our district. So Mr. Holmes is going to be discussing tonight some of our post-secondary programs. But in addition, just to keep the board better informed, I would like to have these monthly sessions at each one of our board meetings. If the board would like for me to change or add any of them, I would be more than happy to do so. But from now on, what we would like to do is to make sure that we are focused on the academic programs of our district. I think that what we have learned from Leadership ISD, that one of the biggest challenges and one of the biggest focus areas for our district should be on the academics for our students, and that's what this is about. Of course, we did put in some other things that are also important to our district because it's important to have the well-rounded approach. But this is what we have planned for the remainder of the year. We could always add or delete, but I felt it would be important for the board to see what you're going to get under the superintendent reports from now on. And then we're going to start with Devin Holmes.
Well, hello. Thanks for letting me come here and talk to you guys about CCMR and academic enrichment teachers. My name is Devin Holmes. I'm the Director of Advanced Academics. I work under Dr. Toppin, And like we said, we're going to talk a lot about CCMR tonight, exactly what that means. So we'll talk about the current state of CCMR, where we're at as a district, what things we can do, where we're focusing our energies and efforts. We'll talk also about different strategies we're using. We're going to touch on academic enrichment teachers, which is a new position that we have this year that's really awesome in our district elementary, and then answer any questions you guys might have. So college and career military readiness is about culminating student outcomes. It's really important to realize, because we throw that CCMR title around a lot, but ultimately it's about measuring whether or not our kids are ready for the next step, they're ready to engage in life after high school. So the success of our district and the success in CCMR are tied together and really can't be separated. So it's so important, CCMR is such a big deal, that it becomes this huge chunk of the way Texas is evaluating our district. And so we look at a number of different things, and this is just kind of giving you a summary of how accountability is calculated and what CCMR is as far as accountability, the way the state measures our success. And so you're always going to have two components for your accountability, but there's a number of ways you can make it up. So this is one option. We can have 2/3 of it coming out of what we call Domain 1, which is your student achievement, and that includes star performance, the CCMR, and graduation rate, and you can see the percentages there, 40%, 40%, and 20%. And then that would combine with what we call Domain 3, which is closing the gaps, which is made up 50% academic achievement, 10% the graduation rate, 10% our EL proficiency, and then 30% CCMR as well. But the calculations are slightly different in the way they do that. So this is one option. Another option is to use what they call the student growth domain or academic growth domain, which is 2, and it has 2 different ways we can do this. The first one is academic growth. In this situation, there's no CCMR included in the accountability on that 2/3, and the CCMR would only be on the Domain 3 chart there. Another way that CCMR can be incorporated is Domain 2B. This is your relative performance. And this is where we compare ourselves to other districts of similar economically disadvantaged numbers. And it's made up to 50% STAR and 50% CCMR. And in fact, the last real true accountability cycle we had pre-COVID, this is the breakdown of what it looked like. So STAR performance and academic achievements, which go hand in hand, made up about 50% of the accountability, and CCMR made up 44%, with the other 2 chunks being grad rate and EL proficiency. So the state basically really highly values CCMR, that knows that ultimately our success academically should result in kids being college, career, and military ready. Okay, so what is it that the state's looking at when it comes to college and career military readiness? And they really have 10 indicators they look at. The first one is your TSI criteria, which is your Texas Success Initiative, and they're looking at that in reading and math. They're looking to see if any students got a 3 or 4, a 3 on an AP exam or a 4 on an IB exam. They also look at level 1 and level 2 certificates, which that is from the colleges around us. They can award those certificates if you complete a certain number of hours in a specific discipline. We also have on-ramp dual enrollment course credit that can give you a CCMR indicator. 5, which is your dual course credit. If it's English or math, you only need 3 hours. Anything else, you need a sum of 9 hours. We also have industry-based certifications, associate's degrees. You can complete an IEP and workforce readiness. You have a special education graduate with a recommended high school plan or distinguished achievement plan or foundation plan with endorsement or foundation plan with a distinguished level of achievement. And then number 10 is the enlisted in the armed forces, which is currently suspended by TEA until they get a data agreement with the U.S. Armed Forces. It's important to notice when you're doing calculations that when we're talking about the state, CCMR is calculated out of the percentage of graduates for a particular year, whereas the federal is calculated out of the total percentage of all seniors, including those who did not graduate. So there's a slightly different calculation there as well. So a word of caution as we look at CCMR data in general is you've got to remember that CCMR lags by 1 year because we have to wait to get all that data in order to be able to present it. So the data that we have for this year's 2021 accountability was actually from 2020. And this upcoming year is actually going to be the data from last year, which you'll remember was one of the hardest years that we've ever had in education. And so just be aware that the data lags. And so the actions we're taking now are going to improve our students' futures, but they take a year to go into effect. Also, just to notice, graduation numbers can lag by up to 2 years, depending on whether or not we look at the 6-year, the 5-year, the 4-year rate when we're doing calculations as well. Okay, so let's look at the current state. Now that we kind of got an idea of what college and career military readiness is, let's look at the current state here in Judson ISD. Okay, so here is the 3-year comparison. You'll notice all the different indicators are there. There are actually more indicators there than I talked about, and we'll talk about why that is in just a second. But the first thing you want to notice is that in 2021, we actually had a 19% drop in our CCMR rating. Now, it's important to note as you talk about that means that you had 19% drop in the number of kids getting one of the indicators. Be aware that if you get every single indicator there, one student gets them all, they only get counted once. So it's about the kids counted. So where did that happen? What happened that caused this drop? And it's actually something that was out of our control to a certain degree. If you'll notice here at the very end, you have two things, the enlisted in the armed forces and the CTE coherent sequence. Both of those for the 2021 year were not counted in calculations. We went from 12% CTE, getting that point, to nothing, and we went from 15% in the enlisted in the armed forces to nothing. They weren't counting them last year. So that dropped our CCMR. And so we have to be looking for other ways to make sure our kids are getting those outcomes that they need, now that the state's not counting that. So what can we do? I wanted to look at a couple of neighboring districts this past year and kind of compare what kind of actions they took to kind of give us an idea of things we can do to improve and things that we are going to do. So let's take a look at that. I conveniently call them District A and District B. And so you can see this is last year's 2021 CCMR data, and we can compare the 3 districts and kind of figure out what it is that we did or what they did to be where they're at. So if you'll notice one district, the green one is up there, then you have red, and then finally we're the one in blue. So they were able to find ways to give kids positive outcomes despite the drops that we had there. And so we were going to learn some lessons from that. So here's where it happened. And I probably, you guys can notice that there is this giant, tall beam of industry-based certifications for the green there. One of the things they did is they found ways to give kids industry-based certifications. So industry-based certifications are basically kids going through some sort of career and technology education component, and then at some point they're going to take a certification exam to show that they're ready to go out and tackle some of the jobs and opportunities that we have post-high school. So you can see right there, District B improved their industry certifications. And then I want to show something that you can't really tell. It's a little more nuanced about the TSI criteria here. But District A maintained that TSI criteria, and that really helped them out. So let's take a look at the first thing we need to focus on, which is that industry-based certification. I wanted to go ahead and take a little snapshot here down at the bottom. I want you to notice is that our CTE program has been growing and improving that. They've been targeting that every single year. They've been making improvements in that. So they are absolutely on the right path to getting the kids where they need to be. They have a lot of things they're focusing on, and one of the biggest focuses this year is on those industry-based certifications. One of the things they're wanting to do is to make sure we're not waiting until the spring to catch those kids. And we're doing a lot more certification exams in the fall. Those are going on right now as we speak. Kids are getting certifications as we go. They're also looking to work with counseling and parent outreach and student interest surveys to make sure that students stay in the programs and complete the full 4 years of that program. So I'm really hopeful, and I think that the industry-based certifications, we're on the right track, and I think that will continue to grow and give our kids good outcomes and good opportunities after high school. So that brings us to the second focus, which is that Texas Success Initiative criteria. Is that me? Oh. I'm like, no! So the second focus we have, which is your TSI criteria. This is actually super important. The reason is because TSI is the doorway for kids to go on to college and take college-level courses. If they don't have a TSI criteria met, they're going to end up having to take remediation courses in whatever areas they haven't met. So it's a super important thing that we want as many kids as possible getting, and I wanted to point that out to you. So the first thing that you're going to do is when you're looking at your TSI indicator, you're going to get it from 4 different possible sources. One of them is the TSI assessment itself, which is an assessment that we give in-house. They also give it at colleges, and if they pass that assessment, then they are considered that. We also look at the ACT. If they meet a certain number on the ACT or SAT, they're in. And then finally, we can also do college prep courses, which is a House Bill 5 initiative that allows kids who maybe weren't successful on the TSI test to then have the ability to go into a course, go through all that coursework, and if they pass that course, then now they are ready for college. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we can learn a little bit from this District A. So this is looking at just District A and just our district, which is the blue one, for just the TSI indicator for this past year. As you can notice, they had 3 points that they outperformed us on here. One of them was the ELAR assessment. Another one was the college prep ELAR course, and the other one was the college prep math course. So they made an intentional effort, you can see it from the data, an intentional effort to get kids to be able to get that college prep out of the way. It is important to note as you're looking at TSI is that just because you did really awesome in English, that doesn't give you a TSI indicator. You have to do both, math and English. And so you can't just get one, you have to do both. So you can see that, and so the question is, okay, what are we going to do? Now that we can see, yeah, they're looking at focusing on college prep, they're doing really well in the TSI. Ultimately, we want to make sure that everything we're doing is providing for positive student outcomes. The students really come first. So the best option in this situation is for the kids to pass the TSI test. The reason is because everybody in Texas has to accept that kid coming in if they pass the TSI. So that's the primary thing that we want to do. We want to make sure our TSI goes well. So we have a plan in place to make that happen. And so one of the things we want to do is look at a 4-year testing plan and then provide the kind of guidance, especially about retesting, to make sure that our kids are ready to go when that happens. We have strategic times that we're putting in place to test the kids at the different grade levels. And we're actually going to do one because of the fact we had COVID last year. We're going to make sure that any non-CCMR senior is going to have the opportunity to take the TSI on March 2nd, which is our SAT school day. So they won't have anything that they're necessarily having to do. So they can take that test, and then we can spend the time from March 2nd till the time they graduate making sure we do what it takes for them to be ready to go. We're also tracking our data through OnData Suite, and we're identifying kids exactly what it is they need, what are they close to, what would get them over the target point. And then finally, we're providing support through a program we called SHMOOP that we brought on, and also the timely retesting. I use the word timely because we actually created a time frame for, based on the score range you have, how long should you wait before you take the test? What kind of actions should you take before you retake the test? So we're not just giving the kid the test and then letting them sit for a week and then giving them the test again. We're saying, okay, you need 2 weeks of intensive in this one area because you're so close, or maybe you need 90 days before you take the test, where we go through a longer preparation program for you. So that's what we're doing for the TSI assessment itself. Then the next thing comes up with is the college prep. Okay, so there's 2 different animals when it comes to college prep. One of them is the original college prep, which came out of House Bill 5, which occurs through a partnership we have with Alamo colleges. So if a kid takes this course, which is a regular course they can take during the school day, and they pass it, they're eligible to enter into Alamo colleges, Texas A&M San Antonio, or UTSA without having to take any remediation courses. So that's a good option for kids who are struggling. We don't necessarily want to put kids all into college prep classes and say, hey, let's just put everybody in college prep, because ultimately, first we want to try and make sure they pass the TSI. If that doesn't succeed, we actually have an intermediate step that we brought on this year called Texas College Bridge, and it's a powerful adaptive option for the kids. What this option does is it's actually, they have an MOU with 42 community colleges and 11 universities in the state, including UT Austin, and that will allow those kids, if they go through this course, to be able to go to any of those schools. So this one gives them more flexibility, so this is our second option. The other neat thing about it is it can be done on their own time, because it's done through a computer program. Our career counselors work with them, sign them up, and make sure they're successful on this program. So this is a second option. And if this is not what they need, then finally we'll go to the college prep. So we have 3 layers to make sure that the TSI is successful. So that, in a nutshell, is CCMR. We're going to talk about academic enrichment, but I wanted to make sure I answered any questions about this before we moved on. Yes, ma'am.
So, and I have to let you know before I say this, I move real slow.
Hey, no worries.
Okay? We are not going to encourage them to want to be able to go on to a 4-year university to just step back and, change tires instead of getting a degree and becoming a lawyer. Is that what we're doing?
No. No, I don't believe that's what
Okay, then re-explain it, because that's what I heard.
Okay, so with the CCMR, ultimately it's about giving kids the options they want, right? And so if a kid really wants to pursue a specific field, we have options for that through our industry-based certifications. They can get a certification in programming Java in high school, because we have that as part of our CAPE program. Then they can step out of high school and they can start programming for a company.
But we already have that.
Yes.
I've actually gone to our schools and watched the programs that they offer. Everything from the mechanics program up to the dental assistants to the office assistant. So
the difference is, we have those programs, but we want to make sure that the outcomes of those programs, the certifications, are increased. We want to make sure that as many kids going through that program as possible are getting the certification so they can go on and show the workforce that they are ready to go in whatever area it is that they want to be going in. And if they want to go to college as well, we want to make sure they're ready for that, and they could use that industry certification to also earn money on the side while they're doing that, if they wanted to do that. Does that make sense, man? No, you're good. Okay, so I'm not happy, but I understand. So what is it that is of concern?
that we're not continuing to push our students to be the top, the best, number one. Okay? I understand that not every student wants to go to college. I understand that not every student is interested in getting a 4-year degree or 8-year degree or whatever. But I do not want to encourage them to sit back on their laurels and accept mediocrity when we want them to have the best and do and be the best.
I agree with you 100%. So the majority of what it is that we are focusing on is the TSI, which...
But Devin, maybe we could get some clarification if Ms. Eaton could share with us, which part did you hear that maybe I missed that you felt that we're lowering our expectations?
The entire presentation sounds like we're lowering our standards, and I don't understand that.
I guess I must be misunderstanding the presentation, because I truly don't see how giving students options how preparing them
It's not
to
about giving them options. We give them options now.
Right, so we're explaining right now what it is that we're doing, how the CCMR works, what those options are, so I must be misunderstanding.
Perhaps, maybe overemphasized something or not. The main focus, the primary focus, the thing we want to make sure is that a kid is TSI ready. And TSI ready means that they can walk into a university anywhere in Texas and they don't have to take any remediation courses.
So we haven't been doing that?
No, we have been doing that, but we want to find ways to improve that and continue to grow in that. That's the objective. And so we've had new opportunities come up, new ways of doing that. For example, with the Texas College Bridge, this is something that hasn't been in the past. And so this now gives kids another option to get college ready, to be able to go beyond just the standardized testing that they've done before. It's a new thing, and it's new to our district, and we're bringing it in, and we're wanting to see if we can make that work for our kids, so as many kids as possible don't have to take a single course of remediation when they go to college. That they're ready to go at any university, any community college, anywhere they want to go in the state of Texas, they're ready to go. That's our primary focus as far as that goes. We also want to make sure that if kids have interests in areas of industry, that they have certifications coming out of high school too, so that we know that they've been successful in those programs, so that they actually are capable of taking that on. Most of those programs, they could continue that into a 2-year or 4-year degree, or even beyond that, graduate. Does that kind of... No, I'm just saying, does that help? No worries, sounds good.
Mr. Holmes, thank you for the presentation. So, question for you.
Yes, sir.
And I think as we look at, for example, the industry-based certifications, how does the district ensure that we pick or develop the right ones to ensure that we kind of select the best ones, right? Like real estate agent or...
We just so happen to have Dr. Steele here, who is the director of Career and Technology, and she is ready to go.
No, but I think, Ms. Eden, the point is that if we have students captured in high school, for example, that we have various pathways.
They would not be legally old enough to do it.
Okay. The state of Texas allows it, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Okay, well, I can address, the programs that we have here. And we do strive to offer a variety of programs so that whatever the student wants to do. For example, we offer 4 different certifications in our health science practicums that allow students to jump the line, if you will, and they, sorry, I have allergies, you can't hear me. They come out with medical assisting, we started patient care technician, we have radiology, and our dental assisting. So from there, they're already a step ahead, so they're able to go on if they choose to pursue to become a dentist, to move on, and depending on the interest and the situation of every student, almost every single one of those programs, if you pursue that profession, they will pay you to continue your education. So there is support for them moving forward to move on to a 4-year degree if they choose.
So is that the difference between what we currently offer
No.
and what you're talking about?
That is the only new one we've added is patient care technician because it has a more expanded employment opportunity than the certified nursing assistant that we previously offered. So we changed that. And that's just an example of a single program. We do offer the industry-based, the welding, things that they get in ag mechanics, the auto body, the collision. We do offer those which are more of the trades, but we've also got it set up. So we recently had autos donated, Toyota and Ford came. We have people going directly into their training program for servicing. And they get to jump the line because they've already earned ASE certifications in our program. So they've essentially completed about 2 years of post-high school work, so they're on the fast track to move out of the lower level employment jobs.
I guess I'm confused because this is what we were already doing. I'm trying to understand
Staff is, Ms. Eden, staff is trying to tell us how they're going to strengthen those pathways that we already have in place.
Well, I want to hear the strength. I haven't heard it yet.
Well, and this is what we're looking at now is we're one of the programs that got hit the hardest by the shutdown are the CTE programs, and that's across the United States because we are hands-on. There's nothing you learn from a book really in CTE. And so almost all our programs took dips. They took dips in enrollment. Kids fell off their pathways. They missed their opportunities for certifications. In fact, this year I just started in May, and it was really exciting to see that the Cosmos students who had already graduated, we had some students pass their tests post-graduation, and they came back and celebrated with us because they got caught in that initial COVID year. So we truly are, CTE really is in a rebuilding program. And Ms. Castaneda, who is our coordinator, she and I sat down today with our course catalog and looked at where we can build our programs, where we can promote our programs, and what we can bring in that will benefit and grow our programs both in student interest and both in opportunity. And the ultimate goal is always looking at our labor market and looking at high wage, high availability jobs.
Ms. Steele, if I'd like to add in regards to what I think Mr. Diaz was also wanting to find out more is that labor market. I think that that's one of the things that's very important is what we are doing is ensuring that there's going to be that need for the students to be able to go get a job, a good paying job. So if you could, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you could just spend a little bit of time as to how do we know what those areas are? And Mr. Diaz, is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right, because if whatever we do select, I want to make sure that the students, that we have the right selections, right, and ensure that we sunset whatever made sense at one point no longer makes sense today. So we can move students into those, if they choose to go straight into career and then opt in to go to college afterwards, that they're still focused on those middle skill, high paying jobs instead of something that may not make sense for us anymore.
Okay.
And just so you, like an example that I know you can talk about is what we're doing currently. We know that across the state of Texas, there's a need for teachers. So I know we created that program that is getting the interest there. So that would just be one of many examples that you could talk to if you would like to speak about something like that.
And I'm going to preface this that I am bringing you a full-blown presentation in December. So you'll have all the data and the hard facts. But yes, we did start the teaching and learning program. So that is underway full-blown at Wagner, and we've expanded it to Judson, and we are looking at bringing it into veterans because that is definitely a very high-demand program. Also, many of you are familiar with the Perkins Grant that funds CTE. They started 2 years ago. We are now required, before we can apply to the grant, to create an entire needs assessment based on our local wage and labor reports before we're ever issued any grant money. And it kind of goes from us, it goes through Region 20, they help us look at it, and then we submit that. And that, just like a district improvement plan and a campus improvement plan, that is our CTE improvement plan that allows us to create that. And we do it every other summer. So it's not a one-time thing. We look at labor market reports regularly. Pretty much in the Bexar County area, I can tell you right now, and it's pretty obvious, computer science, health science are the in-demand, high-wage areas. We're a tourist town, so you also have retail management, hospitality, but we have really focused on the idea of the computer science and the health science areas and expanded in those areas. And I'm stealing Devin's thunder, so. Do you have any other questions in general? And if there's anything else you would like to know, please send it on. Dr. Toppin is my direct supervisor, so I'll be happy to put together any information that you would like specifically.
And Dr. Steele, that's a great point. That's why I also wanted to give that agenda to the board, because you'll know the topics ahead of time, and we'll prepare for the presentation. But there could be something very specific that you want to know, and we'll definitely take those. And that's why we wanted to share that with the board for the whole year.
Thank you, Dr. Steele.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and what I was thinking was, I know several companies looking for certified Google Cloud architects, and that's something that I know that the state of Texas has allowed. So if we can, marshal our efforts in those. Thanks.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yes, ma'am, of course.
In thinking about how this factors into the accountability ratings, clearly we're putting efforts behind improving all of the different metrics that can go together to do that, and making sure that every kid has some sort of pathway. What do we feel like is our biggest leverage point? Is that TSI? That's where we have the greatest room for improvement? Okay.
Yes, it is. TSI is one of those things. There's like, if you think about accountability, you think about improvement. With the new options they brought to us, that House Bill 5 brought, and also just the state has opened up to us, even in this past year, we have new opportunities to get those kids TSI ready to go to college, ready to do what it is that they want. And that's going to be an area that we definitely want to make sure that our kids have that outcome by the time they finish high school, so that they have the options to do whatever it is they want to do, and go wherever it is they want to go, and that they aren't limited in any way. So yes, that is definitely the highest leverage point, which is one of the two focuses. The other one is the industry-based certifications. And the reasoning behind that is we want kids to also have a set of skills coming out. That maybe they find a career that they are passionate about, and then they can pursue that. For example, she talked about computer science and health sciences being big ones. When a kid comes through and they've got their, is it licensed vocational nurse? Is that the LV? Is that what you all get? Medical assistant. Okay, my bad. So when they get that out of high school, now they've been able to expose themselves to that kind of field, and it's going to give them a passion to pursue that, whether they want to pursue that in nursing, or they want to pursue that as a doctor, or they just want to go and start their career. We want to give them all those options.
Mr. Holmes, I just want to say thank you for this. The CCMR is definitely a big part of our accountability rating, and we're always looking to improve that. But more than that, it's about making sure that we have the best options for our kids, and that we're looking out for each child to be successful. And it seems to me that your team has done a great job of looking at where could we be better. We're not bad already. The CCMR scores that we have been pretty good, but we can always do better. And I appreciate the fact that you're looking out for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions about CCMR? I do have one little other thing to talk about.
Go right ahead.
All right, so the second one is actually something really exciting that Dr. Ball brought into the district this year, and I wanted to talk about that, and that's the academic enrichment teacher. And so this is a really cool opportunity for our elementary students. So this academic enrichment teacher kind of fills 3 different needs that we had in our district, and does it in a very strategic kind of way. By the way, these are pictures of kids this year doing academic enrichment stuff. So it's been pretty exciting. So they have 3 major functions. The first one is they're still going to be providing those GT services that our students need for kindergarten through 5th grade. They're also going to work with assessment identification in that, doing the same things that we've had our GT teachers in the past doing, and they're taking over that responsibility. But we have one at each campus, which is a super exciting thing we're able to do. But the big change is that they are going to be able to take those skills that they've developed as gifted and talented teachers, and they're going to be able to provide enrichment for every student in the school. And so there's a big focus on STEM. They participate in the rotations, and they're allowing kids to experience different educational opportunities that they wouldn't necessarily get in the regular classroom. And it's actually been having a really awesome impact, I think, on the kids already. I've heard plenty of teachers tell me how excited their kids are. I went and visited One teacher yesterday that had a couple of interesting things. One kid told her that, he's been looking forward to this one class all week. She had some life skill kids come in, and they were working on this engineering design thing, and they were talking about how they were incorporating these different elements to make sure that the animals that they had at the time were able to survive and be taken care of in that environment. So that just provides kids an opportunity to think outside the box. And the other thing it does is it brings in academic competitions down to the elementary level on a larger scale. And so they serve as the coordinator for A+ Academic UIL, and they organize and facilitate campus and district-wide competitions. So those are the three main functions of this new position. We are definitely wanting to pour as much support into them as we possibly can. So you'll see a number of different pictures here, and they all tie together. First of all, we are meeting weekly for curriculum development and job skills they need. We've had project-based learning training come in and STEM training come in through Region 20, and we've also done depth and complexity training, which is a way of teaching differentiation, not just for gifted kids, but for all kids. And it's a really cool system that works really well. And then the other thing we're wanting to do ultimately is to align our initiatives and the academic enrichment into what opportunities we have in middle school and high school, whether it be through career and technology education, which is what you're seeing there, or other academic fields. And so the academic enrichment gives us the opportunity for kids to experience some of those things even as kindergartners and first graders and second graders. And so it's a really cool opportunity, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. Do you have any questions about that particular position? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Holmes, thank you so much, and Dr. Ball, great program. It's good to see that all the kids can get some enrichment. That's great. What I'd like to know is, are the teachers, the AETs, are they asked to volunteer to be one? How are they chosen, Dr. Ball?
We actually developed a job description.
Okay.
We posted those positions, and they had to apply. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not going to lie, I'm really glad with the teachers we got, because we've got some really awesome ones. So I've got to know them this year. There's a bunch of folks that I didn't know, and they really are exceptional. And I'm excited to see what it is that they're going to do as they move forward.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No. I was just wanting to see, you said that there's going to be one on each campus?
Each elementary.
Each elementary, okay. Campus, okay, thank you.
We shared early on with the principals that this was going to be something that we were going to have to see fruits of our labor in regards to productivity, true accomplishments, and that this was not going to just be a wasted position, that we would be evaluating, and I was going to have to see data and growth coming from our students in order to be able to continue this.
And that was going to be my next question or observation. You are going to, their data is being tracked.
Right.
So that at some point in time, you will report to us and let us know the success of the program.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Holmes.
All right, well, if that's all, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
The EEOC report?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Robinson is going to give this report. This is an annual report that we do because we have had some changes in regards to departments and who's in different departments. This is a little bit different than we normally have because it's not all going to be comparing apples to apples, because when I redid the organizational chart, some things that used to be in one area are no longer an area. So when you're looking at this data specifically for the departments, please keep that in mind.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Ball. As we prepared this report, we kind of prepared it the way that it used to be, and basically when we did it, we concentrated on the major ones, which was our white, our Hispanic, our black, and our Asian population. But in trying to be transparent, This morning, we added some additional items to this PowerPoint as well. And so we worked digitally, just trying to get everything to you all. And so you're going to see some differences in the presentation than what you might have seen last night or the night before. And we also, we worked really hard to try to give you the data for the student versus staff and those areas as well. So I'm going to kind of go through this PowerPoint, and then I'm going to switch over to an Excel file where we actually built a chart so I can show you the other areas, okay? And so we will start with what is this EO5 report. And so basically it's just a simple report that's, well, it's not a simple report. I take it back. I don't want to see ethnicity for a while. It's a report for all elementary and secondary staff, and we basically collect this data based on ethnicity. It's a requirement that we have to do based on Title VII. And it's mandatory that we collect it and then we go ahead and submit it. And so this report looks very different than the initial submitment of the report, but this is the best way that we could possibly bring all of this information to you, okay? So one of the things that we did is we continued to look at a 3-year trend, and so you'll see the African American, basically 1920 at 18.4, 2021 at 19.6, and then this year, 21-22, we're looking at 14%, and there's a difference, as you can tell, of a negative 5.6%, okay? And this is, again, this is staff. On the white, you'll look at it again in 3-year trend. You're going to see basically that in 2021 and between 2020, 2021 and 2022, we had a drop again of 2.1%, okay, on the white population for our teachers. On the Asian, we went from 1.4% down to 1.1%, and again, when you look at the average, you're looking at a difference of a negative 0.4%. But you're going to see an increase on the Hispanic and Latino population, and you'll be able to see that we went from 43.5 to 42.7 to 47.1, and so the difference is actually a plus 5.6, okay? So I could not do a comparison because I don't have the data from the previous years, and so I'm basically giving you data for this year. So in trying to be transparent, I included everything that we had. So the African American and or Alaskan Native for this year, we actually have a 0.5%. For the Native Hawaiian, we actually have a 0.4%. And then 2 races or more, we have a 0.4%. So next year when we bring it to you, or actually 2 years when we bring it to you, you'll be able to see a 2-year comparison within those, because we're fixing our slides, so we will have a comparison from now on.
So you will be including all others?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So this is traditionally the way that it has been reported before, the 3-year trends. And again, I didn't put the one that we have only 1 year because I only have 1 year, so I can't give you a 3-year comparison. So you can see that, again, the African American went down to 14%. You'll see that the Asian went down to 1.1%, and then you'll see the increase on the Hispanic population at 47.1%, and you'll see a slight decrease on the white from 38.2% to 35%. This is a 3-year trend, okay? Okay, this is where the fun part begins. And actually, I was telling Dr. Ball, I said, okay, next time we do this, we're going to put pluses and minuses, because this is like, oh my God. And so I don't even know where you want to start. So I'm going to show you the campuses basically. And so I'm going to give you the example of Judson High. So they were at 15.3%. They went to 17.1%, and then they went to 16.37%, and that was for the African American. So in essence, you'll see that there is a slight decrease right there at Judson, okay? Then you look at the Asian population, you'll see that it went from 1% to 1.4%, but this year we had an increase of 2.14%, okay? Then you're going to see the Hispanic, you'll see a 37.3%, a 37%, and then you'll see an increase of 38.08%. So that's where part of the Hispanic went up. Then you'll see the white. The white was 45.4%, and then we went to 42%, 42.6%, and then we went ahead and pretty much stayed pretty equal, 42.4% for the white or Judson, okay? The American Indian and or Native American, we had 0, and then the Native Hawaiian, we had 0, and in 2 or more races, we had 0 at Judson, okay? If you look at JLA, you'll notice that there's a difference on the African American. There are an increase of, we went up to 16.67%. There is no Asians there. In the Latino, we went up to 16.67%. In the white, we went down to 66.7%. And then again, there was nothing on the American, on the Hawaiian, or 2 races or more, okay? You'll see Judson Academy. Basically, you'll see that we increased to 44.83%. The Asian, there are no Asians any longer at the J-Care Academy. The Hispanic went up to 37.93%, and the white actually went up to, they went down to 17.27%. Again, there's no American Indian, no Hawaiian, and no 2 races. We go to Wagner, and you're going to see basically a decrease on the African American. You will see you will see an increase.
Ms. Robinson, I don't mean to interrupt, but is this the format the board would like, or do y'all just want to ask her questions? I'm not trying to.
I know, ma'am. It's a lot of information.
We don't want you to read all of them.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. And so
let me. What we didn't have was what you included.
Yeah. So let me just go over where the increases are. If you'll notice that we have like a 77% on Native American, and basically we're looking at that at Wagner. Some of the increases are at Memorial. We do have like Native American 58%, and we also have 2 or more races. So you'll notice way far in the left column that a lot of them are actually 0%, but we had some small increases in those particular areas. And so basically this slide includes every single school. And so in trying to be transparent across the district, we went ahead and provided you every single ethnicity that we have here at Judson ISD. Okay?
Thank you for that, Ms. Robinson.
Then we have something new. We have virtual learning, because remember that we offered virtual learning for our kids that have immune systems compromised. And so we do have 2 people there. And so basically we do have somebody that is Hispanic and then somebody that is white. Okay? And that is all that we have. Superintendents of schools, you know, that we have 50% and 50%. And so basically this is every single department that we have across the district. And again, you'll see a lot of zeros on there, basically because that population is just not there. You'll see some increases there, like for instance, there's a 1.6 on the Hawaiian. And that is in special education. Okay? So basically, if you see an NA there, is because that department no longer exists. And I'll give you the example of the, let me see which one. A K-12 instruction director, we have no such thing in our compensation plan. And so that person is no longer there. We don't have anybody on secondary curriculum. You'll see that guidance and counseling, I put an A because that actually converted into a new department that's called Student Support and Family Services. So that department is gone. It's now combined with other things like McKinney-Vento, all our social workers, our attendants. Let's see, what else? They have the counselors. Basically, kind of that's what they have. You'll also notice associate superintendent. There is no associate superintendent, and so that's no longer there. You'll see that I took away like curriculum elementary math because one of the things that we did was we actually combined everything into our organization 801, which is curriculum and instruction. So anybody that has to do with instruction is now under the organization of curriculum and instruction. So instead of counting every single person and breaking it down by specialists, it was totally a combination of that department as well, okay? So that's the reason why you'll see like the science specialist, the social studies specialist, those kinds of things. Let me see what else. I think one of the major changes that we had was on technology. So technology right now is actually divided into 4 different categories. So we have data services, desktop services, technology, admin, and networking. Like which one is it? And networking. And so what happened, like for instance, I'll give you like the PEIMS department is not standing alone. It's now part of our data services. And so everything kind of flipped over based on our new organizational chart. What Ms. Gosh is telling me right now is that for next year, we're probably going to put it all together under technology when we start looking at organizational charts, basically because she wants to just keep a tight fit on the technology area, okay? So because of that, you're going to see a lot of NAs in the report because there's a lot of combinations or separations and those kinds of things, okay? So we did go back and fix our charts just because we want to be as transparent can be, okay? So you'll notice at the bottom that on the African American, we are at 14%, Asian, we are at 1.1%, Hispanic is 47.1%, our whites are 35%, our American Indians and Alaska Native is 0.5%, our Hawaiian are 0.4%, and then our 2 or more races are 0.4%. So that's kind of what we have across the district right now, okay? And so you're probably going to say, well, it doesn't add to 100. You're absolutely right, because we had some people that chose not to tell us their ethnicity, okay, and we have to respect that.
Absolutely.
And so, so we do have staff members that chose not to tell us their ethnicity. We made a running list. We are going to contact those employees and ask them if they would please reconsider telling us their ethnicities, just simply so that we can have a cleaner and better report. And so, yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the realignment of the data services, technology, that area inclusive, being that we just paid over $500,000 because we got hacked, is this a good time to be realigning that area?
It is, because I'm going to take away that technology admin and we shouldn't be just identifying admin. We should basically be identifying technology. The one thing that we can do is, in talking about organizational charts, is actually putting a sub-object. So when we put a sub-object, then we can actually break it into the 4 areas that she has. So we can put a sub-object and we can break it apart through a sub-object.
And we're being careful to make sure that we are keeping people in place
Yes, ma'am.
to help protect us from what
Oh,
we
God,
just
yeah.
went through.
I mean,
That was a lot of money.
Yeah, no, the people are there. It's simply there are under, and I'll give you like data services. The one person that is, okay, so Lacey takes care of all of technology completely, but she has people under her, and like data technology, it's Paul Ritter that oversees data technology. Desktop services is Mike. And then we have the networking, which is Matthew Fields. And so she's got people underneath her that are overseeing those particular departments. And so it's not like, the people are not going away. We're just saying, we're defining their roles and where they truly belong. You know, not just your technology, but we're defining where they truly belong. In what area are you providing service?
Okay, I'm just trying to be
No.
optimistically cautious because
Yes,
that was a
ma'am.
lot of money to pay to
Oh,
some.
yes, ma'am. I mean, I
you know.
can tell you that technology is moving very cautiously, very protectively to ensure that what happened to us in the summer will not happen to us again. So, you heard that, Lacey. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Robinson, thank you. I know this was very time-consuming. Thank you for this comprehensive report.
No,
Thank you,
absolutely.
thank you.
It is our pleasure, and that's what we're here to service, and that's what we do. I do want to show you, this is the ethnicity versus the student versus the staff, and that one, you see how you see the pluses and the minuses? Okay, that's kind of what we need to do with the other report, do the pluses and the minuses. We just have to rethink how we do the report so it's a lot cleaner for you all. You'll be able to see the differences there. I can show you this right here. Again, will show you the differences overall between the student and the staff, and you'll see the differences between the Black American, you'll see the Hispanic, and you'll see the white. I wasn't able to do this with the other ethnicities just because it took us so long to do what we did today. And so I kind of talked to you about the changes, and I gave you examples of these changes of how things, were combined or separated or deleted, and the reason why it's hard to say I'm going to compare from last year because there was just a lot of changes in our department. What I do want to share with you is, let me get out of here. And so this afternoon, I cannot take credit for this because my secretary, she was determined that she's going to do this report and put it on there. And I was like, okay, girl, let's go for it. And so, so we already had the Black, the Asian, the Hispanic, and the white. And so just in order for her to be transparent, because she's a perfectionist, and I can tell you that if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have this data today. So what I did, and we kind of thank you for Gil Baca, and thank you to Propula, because we certainly bugged the heck out of them so they could give us the data, and then we just put it together, and we did a lot of searching, a lot of doing. So now you'll see this particular report, which is the Native American and the Indians, and you'll see the students versus the staff, okay, and then the differences. The same thing with the Native Hawaiian and the two races. I did not put this on the PowerPoint because we gave Betty the PowerPoint like at 1 o'clock, and we didn't think we could knock this out today, but we didn't give up, and we literally finished this at 5 o'clock this afternoon. And so, so it's not part of your PowerPoint, but I will send it to Betty and to Dr. Ball, and she can certainly forward this information to you all.
Thank
Okay.
you. Mr. I'll put it in the Friday notes for the board.
Absolutely,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much
So,
for that. Thank you.
and just trying to provide transparency across the board, we went ahead and did all that we could to provide you the best information that we had. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to ask a question and then I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
Would you please go to the page that has Spring Meadows Elementary?
On this page?
No, ma'am.
On the other one?
Yes, on the ethnicity of the employees. The next one, I think.
Spring Meadows should be right here.
Oh, there it is.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now what I'm looking at, there are some blank spaces across the line, that line item of Spring Meadows, and it's not the same. So I guess this must be updated. The one that we were sent, there are some blanks for Spring Meadows.
Okay. For some reason, it might have moved, and
Okay.
that might have been it.
Well, I do see
But
it here.
I will send this whole package to Dr. Ball and to Betty so she can send them to y'all tomorrow.
Well, you know, okay, but I do see it here now because I was wondering what the blank spaces represented.
Yeah.
But they're filled in now.
You know, when you're snipping and all of that, it has a tendency to move. I know
And your
Mike
eyes
told
get
me,
crossed.
yeah, so Mike told me this afternoon, in fact, right before the board meeting, he goes, hey, have you used the software where it actually freezes and whatever? I said, no, but I will listen to you, and and whatever it is, I would love it simply because it will just it won't allow things to move. And so I'm excited to go talk to Mike to see what that is, so that we can.
I just
make
wanted
sure.
to say, I know this was very time-consuming, but I appreciate it, Ms. Robinson.
It's our pleasure.
It is one of the things, one of the reports that I ask about on an annual basis is the EEOC report. It's important to me.
Absolutely, ma'am. And now we have everything the way it should be. And again, to me, I got to put some pluses and minuses. Just
okay.
I'm OCD. I'm sorry.
Okay.
When it
Okay.
comes to data, I got to go look at pluses and minuses. And so it really bothered me not to have that. But with crunch time, I was like, no. I can't do pluses and minuses, but we're already thinking of ways that we can fix this report so it's a little bit friendlier to you all.
But what I wanted to say was, Ms. Robinson, is that I look at this as more than just an informational report, more than just an annual report that you have to send to TEA. I look at this more intently, and that is the reason why I ask for it to be as comprehensive as it is. I really appreciate that you worked all the way up till 5 o'clock to do. I really do, because this is what I wanted to see, and this is the thing that I ask about every year. It seems to me that not only for the purpose of information, but for the purpose of seeing where we stand in our district and what other efforts we need to put forth in order to be equitable.
Agreed.
That's the reason.
Agreed.
And I really do appreciate it, because I know it's not as important to everybody else sitting up here, and that's okay. But if it isn't, I need you to know how important it is to me.
Absolutely, ma'am. And that's why we worked really hard today to make sure that we were providing you the best and the greatest information.
The students
we
are the
possibly
students.
could.
They're going to come in whomever they are.
Yes, ma'am.
But we control everything else and
Yes,
who we
ma'am.
hire.
Absolutely.
And that's every department, and starting at administration
Yes, ma'am.
and going all the way down. So I just want you to know, I know this was time-consuming, but thank you, Ms. Robinson.
No,
Thank you so much.
it's
And
our
thank you to
pleasure.
all of your secretaries and the others, the directors in your department that helped you.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Any questions? And y'all can digest it. We'll send this completed for you all. And if y'all have any questions, please feel free to, ask. And you know, if you want to meet or anything, we're available.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you again, Ms. Robinson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Update on the JISD bond.
Was it that one or the Jeff? I thought Jeff was first, but we could, maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong.
It says JISD bond.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's,
And after that is foundation. No, there's no attachments.
Dr. Fields is going to give a verbal presentation.
Thank you so much. To be able to come up and just give an update on where we are with the bond. I would say first that we just finished well over 75 presentations to the staff, the community, the eligible students, municipalities, homeowners associations, between the senior staff, executive directors, and Dr. Ball. Just, you know, trying to get the word out about what we're doing in terms of the bond. As we went out, I would tell you that there was a lot of positive comments in terms of the equity that we were providing for the students and the campuses across the district. But I really felt a buzz of excitement, and I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I felt a buzz of excitement when we spoke about the equity issues in the district and the ability to correct some of those with the upcoming bond. Next, I can tell you that we got the full endorsement of the local area mayors. Kirby really stepped up, Live Oak, Converse, and Selma, but just recently Mayor Williams of Universal City said that he wholeheartedly endorses the bond, and he was behind it as well. So we felt that that was a huge plus. And then, as you know, early voting started on Monday. It goes through the 29th of October. And this weekend will be early voting as well. And we were able to get the PAC as one of the early voting sites. So it's really convenient for people to be able to go in Judson as well. And we're really encouraging the staff, the eligible students, and everybody through signs on marquees and alert, bright arrow messages calling out saying, hey, we need to have your voices heard in the district. And finally, I would tell you that this weekend with the early voting, on Saturday it's going to be from 10 to 6, and on Sunday it'll be from 12 to 6. And again, the PAC is one of those areas that you can go early vote. And you're not limited to, you have to vote in your county, but you're not limited to any particular area when you go vote now. So if you live in Northeast or North Side, you can still vote at the PAC and go in. They just give you the ballot that's specific to your particular zip code. And that's about it. Are there any questions or comments or concerns? Well, thank you guys so much.
Judson Education Foundation 2021 third quarter update. Dr. Ball.
Yes, Dr. Taganoff is going to present this for Lexi. Really proud of all the great things that our foundation does for our staff and for our students. It was nice to be able to recognize a lot of individuals just recently. But I will turn it over to Dr. Taganoff. Sorry.
Thank you. It's an honor to be up here representing our executive director of the Judson Education Foundation, Ms. Lexi Greathouse. She does an amazing job as the executive director of this foundation, who does so much to give back to our district. So I wanted to share the information on the third quarter update. The balances as of August 31st, you can see on your screen kind of how everything is parsed out. The operations account has $141,510.16. Operations emergency savings, $14,918.37. Operations MM, $15,373.03. Emergency savings account, $5. JLA GED, $25,163.62. And then there's a business checking account through BBVA Compass, which has $46, which gives a total of $197,016.18. So those are the current balances as of August 31st. The foundation is really proud to be able to give back to Judson in the way of awarding student scholarships and also teacher and principal grants. We have awarded student scholarships in the amount of $49,750, and in the fall, soon, we will be able to award the teacher and principal grants at that same amount. Some of the third quarter fundraising events that had already happened, our golf tournament, which is one of our bigger events, came in at a profit of $79,370.04. Really great community event. A lot of our partners that you saw in the video earlier come out there and they participate. It's really a great day that connects our community and the district staff and really makes some good investments to give back to our district. We also hosted a football camp in the summer. This one's a community event as well. It's held over at Wagner High School, and this one was hosted by one of our alumni, and he likes to bring in all of his friends. We had a lot of our football players from UTSA come out to really work with the kids, and the kids had a really great time. It was a 2-day event, and that profit came in at $2,110.01. We also partner with the Spurs in their basketball camps, and they host a lot of the different games and tournaments in our campuses. No expense to us, so we have a straight profit of $5,000 there at that event. Some of our community and student events that happened in the third quarter, one of the ones that is one of our favorite is the Circle of Excellence. And this is where we recognize the top 10 graduating seniors at each of our comprehensive high schools. It's traditionally a big dinner, very, very formal event to be able to recognize. They get to bring their favorite teacher. But since all of the pandemic started, we needed to think of a creative way to still recognize them for all of the hard work that they did. So we did host the Circle of Excellence here in the ERC parking lot. Administrators came, we had bands come out. It was just a really great way to celebrate those students, their accomplishments, and then also bring their families along for that recognition as well. We've got some upcoming events and campaigns that are coming up. Some that just ended. The Employee Give campaign just ended September 17th, and we did have a great turnout of staff giving back to our foundation. You saw that we just recognized our top 10 donors, going out to the different businesses and going to them and recognizing them was a really great honor for us to be able to do. We are just ending our United Way campaign, and coming up very quickly is our Wobble and Gobble 5K. Registration for that event is already out and posted, and so if you haven't seen it on the Jeff Facebook page, it's also on the Judson Facebook page and on our website. And right after that Wobble and Gobble 5K, which is going to be an in-person event, not virtual this year, we're going to have a Thanksgiving food drive, and that event is happening November 13th. And so here's the contact information for Ms. Greathouse, our Facebook page handle, and then also our phone number, so that anybody who is interested in volunteering or connecting with us can do so. Any questions?
Looking forward, one of the events that you mentioned is our end of the year event that we have for our top 10. I am so looking forward to that being in person this year. We started it once and it was an amazing event. So very excited that I know we're going to move forward to having that event.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Acknowledgement. Okay. Update on board advisory committees. I don't think that any of us have attended anything. Am I missing it? Okay. Right, okay. Hall of Honor's done too. Update on board trainings, conferences, events, And consideration of future agenda items. I'll just go around the room and ask if there's anybody that has anything to report, or do you have an agenda item? Mr. Diaz.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Ms. Canoyer?
Thank you, Ms. Bichelle. I went to the Alamo Promise kickoff for Wagner on Tuesday and for veterans this morning, and I'm very excited that the Alamo Promise is being extended to our students at veterans. A lot of them are like my family was. My dad made too much money for me to get very much financial aid, and didn't make enough money really to pay for college. So there was some loans and grants and, stuff like that happened. But the fact that all our students have the ability to get 2 years of free tuition through the Alamo colleges is so exciting, whether it's a certificate that they're applying for or the college that they're applying for. So those of you who are listening, this is available for all our 3 high schools. Any seniors at Judson High School, and that kickoff will happen November 4th. Make sure your students go in and save their seat. I was able to speak at both of those events, and what I said was March 2020 showed us that we cannot count on anything, that it is important for us to have backup plans. And so even though they may be planning on something else, the fact that they have this in their back pocket as a backup plan is really important. So that's all I wanted to say.
And who doesn't love a gift?
Good point.
I don't have anything other than Hall of Honor wrapped up, and I believe all of us attended the TASB convention in Dallas. That was wonderful to be able to be there and support our superintendent as one of the finalists for Superintendent of the Year. We're still on a high about that. But it was great. It was great. And it was also, it was good, Dr. Ball, to have your staff there too, for us to be able to eat together, dine together, and just hang our hair and talk together. That was great.
Yes, ma'am. It was.
And celebrate
nice
Nathaniel's
to have
birthday.
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes, I also attended TASB. I think most of us were there. And then coming up, I think before our next board meeting, I have the next meeting of leadership TASB. Started it last year, that got cut off. It's restarted this year. And so we'll be going to Austin to, I think, if there's a legislative session going on, we'll be observing and learning more about how the legislative process impacts public schools. And then visiting some local schools there. They haven't confirmed which ones, but it's a great opportunity to be able to see how other school systems work and learn from them.
That's great. Be sure to let us know. Ms. Eaton?
Nothing at this time, ma'am.
Okay. And Ms. King?
Nothing to share at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to remind the board, it's very important that we all be here to continue our training in order for us to get credit. Again, this is a reminder, so everybody knew ahead of November 8th and 9th, November 15th and 16th, November 15th and 16th to continue our Leadership ISD training, and it starts at 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And we will continue that work. Like to report to the board that we did our part last Tuesday. Patricia was here. We worked on our goals, and not our goals, but the goals that the board set, and are in the process of writing the growth measures. We have to have that to Patricia next Wednesday, so we're continuing that work.
Okay.
We will be able to have it ready for the board on the 8th.
Okay.
And again, just a reminder that work continues, and we do need to have all the board members there.
Okay. So again, that's November 8th and 9th, and then 15, 16 from 5 to 9 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
In this room.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All righty. At this time, we will go into closed session discussing items 7A, B, C, D, E, and F pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, discussing personnel, the personnel report, and updates including new hires, resignations, and administrative appointments. B, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, attorney consultation regarding legal issues related to potential, anticipated, or pending construction litigation and construction issues. C, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.089, attorney consultation regarding legal issues and deliberations regarding security devices or security audits. D, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.076, deliberation regarding security devices and security audits. E, pursuant to Section 551.071, consultation with legal counsel regarding legal issues related to possible pursuit of sanctions against certified educators for abandonment, resignations, or contracts pursuant to policy DFE legal and Texas Education Section 21.105C. F, pursuant to Section 551.074, discuss and consider possible pursuant of sanctions against certified educators for abandonment, resignation of contract pursuant to policy DFE legal and Texas Education Code Section 21.105C. The time now is 8:40, and we will go into closed session. This meeting is back in order at 9:16 p.m. We have item 8A, consider and take possible action regarding the personnel report and updates including new hires, resignations, and administrative appointments. Is there a, oh yeah, we got to get that back up. Is there a motion for this item?
I move we approve the personnel report as presented in closed session.
If I could also make an announcement, if Mike could please notate that Mr. Rafael Rafa Diaz Jr. did have to leave the meeting, so he can be counted absent. Thank you.
Thank you. And is there a second for item 8A?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded, and at this time now, Board, you can proceed to vote. And that motion passes. Thank you. If there's no further business, then this meeting is adjourned at 9:17.